I want to talk about what's coming out of Ukraine and why everybody should be concerned about it. It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that the Great Reset is in motion. And that means that we're all going to go broke one way or the other. It starts with inflation, it ends with universal income, and everything else in between is just going to be fighting amongst the classes that they've created through their mind control and their media to get what they want, which is total control over the civilians of the earth. Period. Simple as that. And I've covered Ukraine on the website, so I definitely recommend you check out some of the stuff over there. I also have a new video up about some of the children who are being born post the pandemic and why we're seeing some abnormalities with these children. And it's pretty frightening stuff, and the media is now covering it, but they won't mention the monkey in the room. But I will, and that's on the website at callfornuprising.com. Obviously, it's content I can't upload here because of the censorship, which is so out of control. It should wake people up, but apparently it doesn't. So I hope to see everybody over on the website. But some of the stuff I've discussed with Ukraine is that the purpose of this war is to bring about the Great Reset. So this whole notion of canceling everything that we're seeing, oh, we're going to take McDonald's out of Russia. Oh, we're not going to have their oil anymore. It's to destroy. It's our own governments destroying our own countries around the world for the Great Reset. That is what it's about. And it ends with universal income. This is Marxism at its best. That's really what it is. And you could even find that on the World Economic Forum's website. Does capitalism need some Marxism to survive the fourth industrial revolution? Right? Because they're forcing the fourth industrial revolution on us, whether we want it or not. And everybody, for the most part, does not, except for completely brain-dead people who think that all of this stuff they hear in the news is true about race and about inequality. It's all made up. It's just the television set, just like everything else we've seen recently. Once they stop talking about it on the TV, you go out to the store, you don't see any of the zombie-like behavior too much as you did beforehand. The television was forcing people and scaring people into putting diapers on their face. Now you don't see it as much because the TV ain't talking about it as much. They're controlled by the television. What the television tells them to do, they do. So this article on the World Economic Forum website talks about finally the option currently being touted around Europe that governments pay a basic monthly salary to all citizens. Aside from the shock value, it seems somewhat odd that governments currently engaged in slashing budgets for public services would suddenly find colossal funds to subsidize mass consumption. So what you're hearing right now with these people are full of gas, but with the gas prices and the inflation, one of the tactics they're using is they're trying to politicize this whole thing. And instead of people focusing on the fact that it's hurting all of us, they're still using politics to divide these zombies who continue to be in the left-right paradigm. So the media, the talking heads like Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and even YouTube themselves, which I'll show you in a second what they're putting in the trending section, are trying to make humor out of the fact that gas prices are so high. Even joking about gas prices going up to $15 a gallon. And people are just like, oh, these people are crybabies about gas. Suck it up. This is for democracy. This is for globalism. It's not for democracy. It's a total scam. And the fact that people buy into this just shows you that they don't have anything going on in their heads except cobwebs and turds floating around because they're not thinking and paying attention to what they're trying to do. This is about world domination and total control, again. So with inflation, what they're doing, instead of everybody being on the same page, they're using, again, as another method to divide. And what they're doing is promoting humor about it. Oh, anyone who cries about inflation, oh, you're not for democracy. And of course, they do things like this, like promote this video on YouTube where they're just making fun of people who are struggling with the inflation prices and gas.
Gas prices are going up again, and you know what that means. A hastily made story about it on your local 5 o'clock news. We'll start with a still shot of the gas station sign, obviously. Then someone opening up the gas tank and putting the thing in. Next, we're going to do a shot of the price ticker as they fill up with gas. After that, we'll probably just interview someone at the gas station and ask them very leading questions to get them to make the situation sound way more extreme than it actually is, like this. I can't afford to go to the grocery store anymore. I can't afford food anymore. Usually after work on a Friday, I go down to Chili's and get a cold beer, maybe a 2 for $20, but now with gas prices being the way they are, I can't even afford that. After that, we'll show some more shots of the person we just interviewed getting gas and maybe showing them looking frustrated like this or maybe like this. Not yet convinced that the world is ending tomorrow? How about another doomsday soundbite? I mean, at this point, I'm honestly thinking about maybe, taking out a second mortgage on my house or selling one of my kidneys or something. Then we'll conclude by telling you to tune back in at 10 p.m. to literally watch the exact same story again.
So then people are looking at it just from that perspective of politics, right? Like, oh, deal with it. We have to save these lives in Ukraine. It's just a few bucks here and there. Because these are the people who want universal income. So by bringing humor into this starts to spread, right? Because it's gas now, and a lot of people don't seem to care. And a lot of people don't have to go out and drive, so they aren't going to care as much. But this is already spread into the grocery stores. This is already spread into other aspects of life. We're seeing smaller portions being put into boxes of our food without them even telling us. We're seeing what? We're seeing food shortages still. All of this stuff still going on where they can point and blame Russia instead of pointing and blaming our own government. And it's really all the governments of the world who are conspiring together to do this because they want to bring in this universal income, which puts us all on the same pay scale, which kills capitalism because they're afraid of capitalism. Because they want to just be the controllers of everything, and they want us all to eat what they tell us to eat, the same portions and rations they want us to eat of their soylent garbage. This is 1984 coming to life right in front of our eyes, and they don't hide it. We've had Elon Musk talk about universal income. We've had the World Economic Forum talk about it. This is the goal right here.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. Okay. What to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income. I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
Because there is no job, machine, robot is taking over.
That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I think that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen. And if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it? And I think some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap. I think the biggest. I think we'll just end up doing a universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you don't have, if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, how do you? What's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with.
Machines will eventually get better than humans at many of these things, and we will be able to produce a lot more with much less human effort. And that doesn't mean we won't have meaningful activities. So our definition of what is meaningful activity has changed over our history, right? TV career was never a career before, and that was, we have new technologies, new careers, and probably what will change is our definition of what earns you an income, what earns you a living, but probably our meaning of life, or our self-worth can be detached from how much money we make from our work, as opposed to what we actually do for our own fulfillment. So you're saying we did detach our work and income? That could be a possibility, yeah. Really? That's a new paradigm. Yeah, in the sense that you don't have to work to get a basic income. So that's one of the ideas. And you work because you like work, not because it's a necessity to earn a living. That could be a paradigm shift. You say that the global share, the global income is growing, but the share labor gets is getting smaller and smaller. Therefore, inequality is rapidly rising. And last year, I think you warned
the people here, and that the wealth of the richest 1% would own more wealth than 99% of the population. And Oxfam just announced this week that it happened, right?
My view about it is very much the one that you just heard from Eric. The pie is growing bigger. There's no guarantee that everyone will benefit if we leave the market alone. In fact, if anything, we think that not everyone will benefit if we leave the market alone. So we need to develop a new system of institutions, new policies that will redistribute inevitably from those that the market will have rewarded in favor of those that the market will have left behind. Now, having a universal minimum income is one of those ways, and in fact, it's one that I'm very much in favor of, as long as we know how to apply it without taking away the incentive to work at the lower end of the market.
The old jobs are being automated. There's no question about that. I don't know whether it's 47% or what the exact number is, but there's no question that many existing tasks will be automated, and that should be a good thing as we replace some of those routine tasks if we can find the new jobs and the new industries and the new goods and services. I'd like to see us working harder on developing those and developing the skills for the workforce so that we can fulfill those. Because ultimately that will be the best way to provide for people, is to have people doing productive work. And that would be my first option before we go to a basic income or other sorts of things, which we may have to at some point. I think we could invest much more in education and entrepreneurship, research and development to reinvigorate the economy.
People plus technology can be a very powerful combination. Plus, I think every human being has the ability to be creative, and whether it being on entertainment side, crafts, thinking of new ideas, exploring the rest of the universe. So every human being has the capability to be creative, and we are creative when our basic needs are met. For example, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur if I was worried that if I fail, I will starve and die. If that was the outcome I am facing, I wouldn't dare to be an entrepreneur. I wouldn't take risks. And I think that's a future that we can give to everybody. That people's basic needs are met, and I think they all have the capability to be creative.
So what's frightening about it is to get to that point, we all have to go broke. And you might not notice it because you might say, well, I don't even use a car. I don't drive. I don't use gas. Everything is going to inflate. Everything is going to pop so the dollar's worth nothing. So we all have to reset. All of our money is going to be gone. And this isn't about money. No one's here talking about storing up treasure on earth. I'm talking about their control over society, over what you eat, over what you put in your body. It all will come into one when this happens. Because having your own income and capitalism gives you your own small amounts of freedom in this society, where you could buy the food that you want to buy, you can grow the food you want. All that stuff comes with universal basic income. It comes with the Great Reset, getting rid of all those things. So whatever you have saved is going to be worth nothing. And that's why it's important to stock up on things that long-term you'll need, as far as your safety and food, all that type of stuff. But to do it, they have to destroy it. This war is going to continue on, and it doesn't seem like a big thing now. But China's going to get involved, and America's going to get involved. And the things you see America doing to Ukraine, to Russia, because of what they're supposedly doing to Ukraine, even though they're in bed together, doing this together, it's a show, it's a production. Are things happening with civilians there? Of course. Does that mean that it's fake? Well, it depends on how you look at it. People just suddenly get emotional, like, it's fake. It's not about that. It's about the people in charge. They're in it together, working together to get to this end goal of a reset, of globalism and total control. That's why they're working together. They have to do these things to get to it. They can't just wake up and say, hey, everybody, all the governments are going to merge as one today, and everyone's going to be on board. Of course not. They create these events. And then to get them moved along, they put the focus on one another, division amongst one another. Oh, we're fighting now over gas prices. Shouldn't all civilians be against this and be like, this is stupid. Why are we paying extra in gas? Why don't you remove the gas tax? Or why don't we get our own oil here, right? And instead, it's just a left, right, and a left, right, while they destroy the economy. And this is happening around the world. and America is going to tumble. It is crumbling on purpose. Don't you think it's a little suspicious? The people that they put in power on purpose